Coach, let's start off with the overall easy question. Off season for you? You off?
Off?
Exactly. It doesn't exist, right?
It's a change of the channel, so to speak, and working on different tasks. It feels like you're in a different place from an emotional and an energy standpoint. So the grind of the season is just a different skill set. So the hours are a little bit less, and where you spend your hours, with us being able to do some of our work virtually, and Coach gave us some time away from the office even when we were working on the draft, and you can really set up your office anywhere in the country that has Wi-Fi, so that really does give you some flexibility.
I feel like that would be the one bonus coming out of this season of quarantine, is that we've learned how to adapt and maybe work in different environments. But when it comes to evaluating players, I imagine that complicates things a little bit for you. You're limited to just what's on tape because you're maybe not visiting them as much in person.
That's exactly right. And I know you've asked Coach and the other coaches questions about the in-person interviews, whether in person or Zoom.
Well, how does it impact you?
Exactly. The video, we can hook that up anywhere, but we've had to become better virtual teachers, and that's one of the things I've been talking to our players about that have been joining our special teams meetings with our current roster is we should all be better at this than we were last year, because quite honestly, last year there were players that didn't have a place to stay, they didn't have a place to work out. You might have had a player in his car on his phone and someone trying to learn football on an iPhone screen compared to a nice size screen for just visual learning. Everyone has a better situation now this year, so that's our challenge, is to be better virtual teachers and learners. But the flip side of that, as you mentioned, the tape is the tape, but the in-person interaction with the draft picks this year was more of a challenge. But I think we're better at detracting the information from them or extracting the information from them virtually as well.
So we've talked with Coach Del Rio, Coach Turner, on them getting their players for offense and defense, but that's not to say when you look at this draft, a lot of the guys coming in will spend most of their time in your room.
Absolutely.
Developing. Yes. How excited do you get for the draft process and knowing you have new recruits?
The people that are Washington football team fans that have heard me speak on this subject know that I really have a passion for the challenge of molding the roster. So when the roster is set and we cut it down to 53, it's our job on special teams to take the pieces and put them together. And when you work with a coach like Ron Rivera, who gives you the resources you need and the access to any of the players that you need, and no one's really off limits, that really is helpful for us.
When it comes to nobody's off limits, Derek Forrest,
yes.
Expected to start with you.
Yes. Yes.
What do you like about what he's going to bring, and also kind of like the leadership that he comes with?
Well, I actually watched your piece with him the other day, and it reminded me of the Zoom calls I had with Derek. His charisma jumps off the screen when he is on the screen virtually with you, but that charisma plays with his teammates, meaning the players are going to really like him as soon as they get to know him. And rookies usually come in under the circumstance to not really show too much of their personality too early, out of respect for the veterans, and then they will unveil their personality as the training camp and the season progresses. But he's, with his ability, which is well documented, the vertical jump, the speed, the bench press, that charisma, which lends itself to being a good leader, potentially a great leader, really translate to any side of the ball, but certainly for ours on special teams.
And also, look, he'll be able to fight everybody else for getting the grubs at the dinner table, coming from
oh my goodness
12 siblings.
Yes, and
one of 12.
And that was a really informative piece. It was items of information I knew, but for you to bring those back to light, I was sitting there just reviewing myself, going, "Wow, this guy has a really good, interesting background."
I kind of can't imagine that, but it does, as he said, makes him a little scrappy.
Yes.
You have to be
there's
a
no
little
question.
bit to
No
make
doubt.
sure that you
Yes.
don't get the crumbs of the cereal.
Yes,
breakfast.
exactly.
Aside from him, this team went in the 6th round, got yourself a long snapper,
Yes.
Camaron Cheeseman.
Yes. So late draft picks, and I know that it's been well documented that there are different purposes for late picks. I know Coach said to the media that some of the later picks sometimes allow you to acquire the same player, but you might be able to structure their financial piece of it differently. So with the long snapper later in the draft, you basically get to pick from the top. if you let those players get to free agency when the draft is over, then you're at the mercy of negotiation of potentially several teams. And when you draft them late, it allows you to not have to deal with the competition of money and the way people are willing to structure their rookie deal. So being willing to draft somebody late really cuts out the guesswork and the gamble of not acquiring that player. And Camaron was certainly a very highly rated long snapper for us, and we really like him.
That was the position you needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Letting go of Nick Sundberg
Yes.
probably wasn't easy. I mean,
No.
look, he was such a pillar in the community and on the team
Yes.
for 10 years, and we know how closely knit those guys were.
Absolutely.
How do you see Cheeseman, as he says, everybody's going to call me Cheese,
Oh my
fitting
gosh.
into that room?
He's got to have a really good personality, and this is where the interviews come in. Because quite honestly, there are rookies that you interview via Zoom or in person back in the old days where you might have concerns about them fitting in with a group or in a room. And we factor all that in when we talk about drafting or picking a player. And Camaron has the personality to be able to fit in with anybody. He's a very serious person. He's going to take his job very seriously. He's going to err on the side of being quiet and speak when spoken to start off with. And like I said, most rookies are going to be counseled to unveil their personality gradually as the veterans allow them, so to speak.
Well, he's already aware that all those cheese jokes are coming.
Oh.
He's never been able to escape them his whole life. He's like,
Yes.
I think I have heard them all, the funny ones, the inappropriate ones.
Oh.
It just comes with the territory. He's
Yes.
used to it.
And I'm sure that this is not going to be the first time that he has dealt with that, because he's had that name his whole life.
I can see the fan base going crazy, yelling "cheese,"
Yes.
and it'll be great. Nice little addition to have that there, and as Coach said, somebody who hopefully can lock that down for the next 10 years
Absolutely.
as well.
And playing at Green Bay will be flattering when he sees all the cheese heads.
He said his mom actually got a whole bunch of cheese heads, even though he went to Michigan. So
Well,
we'll see how that goes. Some other moves that you made in the offseason is you re-signed Dustin Hopkins
Yes.
to come back. What went into that decision, and what makes him stand out here?
First of all, Dustin's a talented player, and obviously Dustin plays a position that every time that you're out there, it's highly scrutinized because everyone can see the result. Sometimes, whether it's at the line of scrimmage, an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, they may not see the fans an assignment bust or someone not doing their job. But when you're the kicker, they see full well when that ball goes through or does not go through the upright. So first of all, he's talented. And we like the way Hop responded as the year went and as we were making our playoff run in the middle and towards the end of the year. He helped with that and settled in and really was more consistent coming down the stretch. So a lot of times these players are going to fight through adversity, and how they respond to that has a great deal to do with how you feel about them. But we thought he responded well to the challenge and finished strong. So we certainly felt like bringing him back and getting him to start off where he left off, that's the goal.
He's got a good foundation to be prepared
Yes, he
for
does.
that,
Yeah.
and how he approaches everything
Absolutely.
in life, his family, and the
Yes.
game, and that's, I think, a testament for that.
No question.
When it comes to the return game,
Yes.
are we going to be seeing one of these rookies, Derek Forrest, potentially back there, or somebody else giving that a shot?
So if just speaking to the draft again, when you go starting at the top, even a guy like Jamin Davis, who probably won't be on a lot of special teams, because as I said earlier, Coach may not have anyone off limits, but we adjust on a sliding scale how much offense or defense they're playing, and then we adjust how much special teams they're playing, so they are fresh players and they're not fatigued. So down you go to the O-lineman, who will be on field goal, obviously, and then you keep going down the list to Derek Forrest, Cheeseman, the two defensive ends who both run well, and then Dax Milne, who was a later pick, was back as a punt returner for BYU. So we're going to have some capable players. Also, we picked up DeAndre Carter in the offseason with Steven Sims and Isaiah Wright, who had some bumps in the road last year, but certainly we want to see how they respond and come back. So there'll be some good players to choose from.
So you just scooped up the whole draft class and put them with you.
Yes, and then we'll
You
see
go.
how much O and D they're playing
Del Rio, right?
and adjust. Exactly right.
All right. Coach, we appreciate your time.
Thank
you. And best of luck. Congratulations
Yes.
on a great draft, and looking forward to seeing it all come together.
Appreciate it. Thank
All
you.
right.